Hello, everybody. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio, where our mantra is to educate, enlighten, and entertain. The views of the guests may not represent those of the host of this station. Folks, you're going to want to listen to this podcast, and I'm going to tell you why. I have a phenomenal guest with me today. Are you getting divorced? Do you need to know what to do in gaining your life back? Well, you're going to want to hear my guest. Why should you go to a lawyer when someone has a diagnosis of Alzheimer's? You're going to want to hear my guest. I'm going to tell you who my guest is right now. My guest is David J. Glass. He is a top-rated family law attorney and a former psychologist. So he's a psychologist and a lawyer. David J. Glass is a regular on-air legal analyst for Good Morning America and ABC's Live News streaming platform. He has appeared on numerous radio shows, podcasts, and in publications. David J. Glass also is California's Southland Chair for the Alzheimer's Association. Thank you for that, David J. Glass. And he is author of Moving On, Redesigning Your Emotional, Financial, and Social Life After Divorce. I don't know about you folks. If I lived in California, I would be running to Zoom, running to the phone to have David J. Glass as my attorney. I could tell you that right now, but I live in New Jersey. So I just want to tell you people in California that welcome, David J. Glass, to Chatting with Betsy.
Thanks, and thanks for that wonderful introduction.
You're welcome. I'm just curious, David, can you as a lawyer, because I don't know this, that's why I'm asking, can you Zoom clients from other states, or can you just practice for those who are in California?
I can only practice in California or any other state that I'm licensed in. I happen to be licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania in addition. I started out my career in New Jersey and Pennsylvania and moved out here to California 19 years ago, but I keep the licenses alive in New Jersey and Pennsylvania as well. But ordinarily, you can only talk about the legal issues in your own state.
Oh, cool, New Jersey. I live in New Jersey.
That's great. Yeah,
I
grew up in New Jersey, in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, and I went to school in Philadelphia, and then eventually moved out here to California.
Oh, okay. Cherry Hill is about 45 minutes to an hour away from me. I had to ask you, David J. Glass, I want to thank you for coming on the show. You wrote the book, Moving On, Redesigning Your Emotional, Financial, and Social Life After Divorce. What motivated you to write this book?
Well, I myself got divorced. It's now 13 years ago. And getting the divorce was relatively easy. My ex-wife and I sat down at the kitchen table, and I wrote it out on a yellow pad, and we agreed, and there was really nothing to argue about. But then after the divorce, I was faced with the big question: what comes next? And when I went to go look for books to help me, that's what I do. When I want to learn something new or figure out a new way to do something, I look for a qualified book. I couldn't find any books on the topic for the year after divorce. There were plenty of books that talked about how to go through the divorce, how to choose an attorney, how to maximize your financial gain from a divorce, all those sorts of things, but nothing about trying to reformat your life after a divorce. And my daughters were then 8 and 10 years old, so there were a lot of things to really think about. And so it took me another 10 years post-divorce to finally get around to it, but I managed to put this book together.
Well, and you're a busy guy to put a book together. Can the same principles that apply to someone who is getting divorced, can that be also applied to someone who lost a spouse as far as moving on and redesigning in those areas?
Absolutely. The main point of my book is that you have to sit down and I suggest people do it on paper because it's easy to see it on paper, and you make a bunch of different squares on the paper, and each square you put a potential problem you are having with your life. So whether it's a financial problem or where you live or getting along with your kids or getting along with a partner, those sorts of things, you put the problem in the box, and then you engage in problem solving to try and figure out how am I going to get out of it. And the problem solving technique is designed to just generate as many possible solutions in the brainstorming portion as possible. So you can't tell yourself, oh, that won't work, or that's a silly solution, or I don't know if I could ever do that. You just have to get as many possible solutions down on a piece of paper. And once you look at them, ordinarily one or two will rise to the top. And then you have to try one of those solutions and see if it works. And then the final note on problem solving is if your first choice doesn't work and you can't fix the problem with your first choice, you circle back and you take your second choice without feeling bad about it. This is just what you do. You move from choice to choice until you have whatever problem you're addressing fixed. So, yeah, the lessons of the book are designed. The book is designed for people who have just been through a divorce. But the problem-solving technique I use every day of my life, in my law practice, in my personal life, with my friends. It has wide-ranging applicability.
Well, from what I read, your book sounds phenomenal, and it is available on Amazon. And I want to tell the audience that, and you received a lot of 5-star reviews. So that is a book to definitely check out, folks. I had to ask you this, David. What came first, being a lawyer or being a psychologist? And what interested you to do both? Because that's just phenomenal to me. You're the first person that I read about that has both degrees.
Yeah, you know what? I went to a joint degree program. I was a psychology major in undergrad, and my undergraduate mentor told me I planned to just be a psychologist. And my mentor told me you're going to need to figure out very quickly a subspecialty area if you want to progress in the world of psychology and differentiate yourself from all the other psychologists out there. And so I found this dual degree program that allowed me to go to the psychology graduate school at the same time I went to law school. And so the program squeezes 5 years of a PhD program plus 3 years of law school into a total of 5 years. And I got into the program intending to be a forensic psychologist, and then so working in the court system, and then doing some teaching and then doing some clinical practice. But as the program went on, and I had an opportunity to work at a couple different law firms over summers, I started to think I would be a better lawyer than I would a psychologist. I got out and I still started my career as a clinical psychologist in New York. But after a short time, I felt like I wasn't helping people to change enough, and being a psychologist ended up being too sedentary for me and my personality. So I jumped into family law and loved it instantly, and I haven't turned back, and that's 25 years ago at this point.
Wow. All I have to say is congratulations, because you must be very, very smart to do both at the same time. I give you a lot of kudos for that. That's just incredible. And I'm sure your psychology degree comes in handy in dealing with people in the courtroom.
Oh, absolutely. I use it every day of my business career, even if it's understanding my clients and bringing a more empathetic and listening approach to dealing with my clients, because in law school they don't really teach you to listen to people. They teach you how to talk. And so the listening skills, I think, come in very handy with my own clients. Also figuring out how to tell a story so it's going to be best received by the judge or by the psychologist who's appointed to investigate the family, and then just even understanding opposing counsel. I use everything I know about psychology on a daily basis, and I think it helps me. A lot of my clients also say that I practice a lot differently than any other lawyers they've met.
I'm sure I would. I mean, I said before, and I'm very passionate when I talk. If I lived in California, I would definitely be obtaining your services without question, because you are very well known. You have a very good reputation, and I just would be very comfortable in coming to you. I have to ask you this, David, because you are an attorney, you are a family lawyer. You are on the Alzheimer's Association, the California Southland Chair for the Alzheimer's Association. And because this show, my audience has a huge caregiving audience, and I tell people, I always say, when you get a diagnosis, or even before, go to a lawyer. Start having your planning, estate planning, power of attorney for medical, financial. Can you please tell the audience why this is so important to have your ducks in a row? I want them to hear it from a lawyer.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting the diagnosis of dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that oftentimes doesn't happen early enough. But if there's any hints that a family member, a loved one, is beginning that process and that slow descent into dementia and losing their cognitive faculties, you need to get to a trust and estate lawyer or a family law attorney as quickly as possible, because there's a limited amount of time where the person who is suffering still has the capacity to make decisions for their own life. And an attorney, in very quick order, after an hour session, can advise you that you need a power of attorney, so that once you cannot make financial decisions for yourself, you appoint a family member who can move money from checking accounts or sell stock, or if it came to it, sell your house to use the proceeds for you to go into an extended care unit or something like that. So there's the financial matter. They will set you up with a living will, which explains what kinds of medical treatment you ultimately want, and then puts a family member, maybe the same family member, in charge of making those decisions, so that if you or your loved one proceeds to that point where you can't express what you want done for you, you have someone who is specified, they can make all the decisions for me. So those two documents alone make your life that much easier going forward, because all this is spelled out for your doctors and anyone else, bankers, accountants, anyone else you might have to deal with. And then just having a simple estate plan explaining what assets you have and how you want them to be distributed ultimately when you die. That ultimately helps your family members, because if you don't have your estate plan in place, then your case has to go through probate court. And probate court can take 2 or 3 years to wind its way through. You end up paying a big chunk of your assets to the lawyer who has to help you through probate court. And it's all easily avoidable if you do an easy estate plan to just say, this is going to this person, this is going to that person, this asset's going to be split among these 3 siblings. By doing that all ahead of time, you save your family a huge headache after your death.
Yes, that is for sure. And when people wait, David, because some people are of the mindset, oh, I can't, take my husband and get power of attorney, or my wife, they'll get upset. They'll think I'm taking away their power. I keep telling people, you're not taking anything away. You do not want to wait until you have to apply for guardianship or conservatorship. Can you tell us the difference between those two, the guardianship and the conservatorship?
Yeah, so here in California, guardianship is the term used for a minor who can't manage their own affairs because of a mental disability, psychological disorder, or possibly a physical disorder. And conservatorship is where someone steps in to make all of the major decisions for someone who has already become mentally incapacitated, typically because of dementia or Alzheimer's or a serious mental disorder, but unable to make common decisions regarding their own care and how their money is handled. And the problem is that, so again, if you go in early and you get a power of attorney and a living will and you set up an estate plan, now all of that is resolved so that it's just a set of instructions that if one day you become unable to make these decisions for yourself, this person or these people will step in and help you. So it's not taking anything away right now. It's saying if this happens in the future, this is the procedure we will follow. If you don't do that and you become incapacitated, now your family member or friend has to go again to probate court, and you have to apply for a conservatorship. And so you will need an attorney, and the attorneys, here in LA, they range from $500 to $800 an hour just to marshal you through this program. And then the court is going to assign someone to be an investigator, and that person gets paid from your state as well to make sure that the decisions being made are appropriate. And the court will also appoint a neuropsychologist to do an evaluation of you to confirm that you are indeed incapacitated and need a conservator. All those things cost money. All those things take time. And conservatorship actions go on for years and years. So, again, your point, which is my point also, is just to avoid all of that probate court and having to have attorneys later, go to an attorney early for an hour or two of their work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree 100%. My husband was diagnosed with early onset. I took Matt immediately. I reassured my husband. I said, you're still going to have your input and decisions. This is for when you no longer can make decisions. I tell people it's like having money in the bank. You use it when you need it. It's there. And wanted them to hear from you, David, because you are a lawyer. And, people might think I'm being redundant, but I can't impress how important it is. I know firsthand, I went through this personally. Medicare, your life insurance, your spouse's life insurance, or your partner's, if your husband has pensions, they will not discuss anything with you unless you have that power of attorney. So it is very imperative for someone to get that done. And I say, David, that I feel that when your child turns 18, get a will done. Get power of attorney. It can always be changed. So God forbid if your son or daughter needs they're in a health situation of emergency, you had the power of attorney to step in to say what your daughter or son would have wanted.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a lot of people resist going to see an attorney to put together an estate plan or a living will or a power of attorney because they don't want to think about their own demise. They don't want to think about if something goes wrong. And it's just it's going to sound very harsh, but it's like an ostrich sticking their head in the sand. It's just you're just saying, I don't want to deal with this. I'm not going to think about it, and I'm going to put my head in the sand. And it's just not it's not the way you want to live your life. The way I try to live my life, and I try and help my clients live their lives, is to be prepared for anything that's going to come along, so that you have a plan in place, and then you live your life. And surprises come, and left turns come, and you get turned around. But if you have a plan to work from, it certainly makes getting over all those bumps and the pitfalls, getting through those, a lot easier.
Yes, I agree. David, I know that you are a busy guy, and you have a case you're going to be doing in a little bit. I would love for you to come on again when I know this is probably funny to you when you're not as busy. I know you're very busy, because I really would love to go into depth with these subjects, because I could talk till I'm blue in the face, and I say it all the time, but the audience, I can't even impress enough. I don't care where you live in the world. I'm sure in foreign countries you need some kind of legal papers. That must be all over. But here in the States it's different. It might be different state to state. You need to get your financial and your life in order. You need to get this in order. Nobody wants to talk about it, but we have to. And do pre-planning. And I want to thank you for coming on, David J. Glass. Is there anything you'd like to tell the audience? I don't know if you want to share where you have your practice, if someone in California would like to get in touch with you.
Sure.
Whatever you'd like to share.
I just wanted to add that as part of the Alzheimer's Association, I've come to learn that just about everyone I meet has some sort of story or connection to a loved one who starts to suffer either later in life or early onset. And while being a caretaker has got to be one of the hardest jobs, also rewarding, but one of the hardest jobs you can do, if you have your legal ducks in a row, it certainly makes it a lot easier. So we've made that point multiple times. I just wanted to make it one more time for people.
Thank you.
And the Alzheimer's Association has an 800 number, completely free, 24/7, 365, with people who speak 40 different languages. The number is 1-800-272-3900. I'm going to say it again, 1-800-272-3900. And I encourage people any day that you're having difficulty being a caretaker, or you have questions, or you're anxious about something, call our 800 number. It's proven helpful to people time and time and again. And then if people want more information about me, they can go to glassfamilylaw.com. That'll take you right to my webpage and my bio and all the information about me and the way to contact me. And I am here in Los Angeles, and I practice in Southern California. And then the book, in addition to being available on Amazon, it has its own website, movingonbook.com. We'll give you excerpts from the book. It'll give you all the reviews, and then it has a link to Amazon if you wanted to order it.
Oh, great. Oh, thank you so much, David J. Glass, for coming on. Folks, I can't help it when I get excited, and I'm passionate about this. You know, if you heard me, you know I'm passionate. I've lived it. I went through it. David J. Glass is a lawyer. He definitely knows what he's talking about. He's saying the same thing that I am. You must get your ducks in a row. It is imperative. I can't say it enough. I want to thank you, David J. Glass, for coming on. I appreciate your time, and I hope you could come on again because I enjoy talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your wealth of information.
We can go more in depth on any of these topics. We'll figure out a return engagement.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And I want to thank Cherie Kier, who is founder and president of Kier PR and also of Execuprov. And she arranged this interview, so I want to thank Cherie. And I just want to thank you all for listening. And please share this podcast to help other people. This is what my show is about, is helping other people and paying it forward. And please read the blog. It will have information about David J. Glass in the book and where you could get it and how you could get in touch with David J. Glass, especially if you live in California. And I want to thank Jeannie White, who is station manager, for producing the show, writing the blog. I want to thank Lillian Caldwell, who's CEO of Passionate World Talk Radio, who makes this all possible. And thank you again for listening and for sharing, for helping others. This won't be posted till after Valentine's Day, but it just happens to be Valentine's Day. Love each other every day. Show the love. Be kind. And please, I beg all of you, wherever you live, get your will done. Get your ducks in a row. It is vitally important. Very, very important. You don't want to be running around like a chicken with your head cut off if something happens. If you have to place your loved one in an emergency situation, you need to have these papers. It is vitally important. I can't impress that enough. I went through it. I know what they ask. So please get that done for your own peace of mind. It brings peace of mind, folks. And is it pleasant to do? No, but it's necessary, just like other things that are not pleasant, but they're necessary to do. So please do that for your own peace of mind and your families. And again, thank you for listening. This is Betsy Wurzel, your host of Chatting with Betsy on Passionate World Talk Radio. Bye-bye now.